So, what is a memorable movie you watched in the past? The movie that comes to mind off the top of my head is probably my favorite movie of all time, which is Sofia Coppola's Lost in Translation.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this movie?
No.
It's a really brilliant romantic comedy, but not in the traditional sense. It's a low budget indie movie that stars Scarlett Johansson and Bill Murray. And the story is about a multi-millionaire, middle-aged actor who's working in Japan on a whiskey commercial, but he feels like a bit of a sellout. He's only gone there for the money, and he could be working on something that's more enriching or is more fulfilling to him. And he meets a very young girl in the bar of the hotel, and she's just as lost as he is. Even though they're at different points in their life, they have a connection because of this shared experience, and it follows them as their friendship develops, like across the week when they stay in Tokyo. And I would say it's a really mild story. It's not a wild ride at all. It's not going to hit you like a ton of bricks in the same way that a dramatic movie might, but it's fair to say that it's a cinematic masterpiece. And so when I watch new movies and I go back to, and I compare them to movies that I've seen before, I go back to movies I've seen time and time again, I go back to this movie. Therefore, I would say that it's a memorable movie. Something like that.
Oh, thank you for giving me a perfect answer. Now I feel like
I wouldn't say that was a perfect answer, but
oh yeah, it's literally perfect. And now I feel like as if I'm tutoring you.
Yeah, give me feedback.
Of course, there's no feedback from my side, but I just have a couple questions in terms of learning English. You use the word indie movie or something?
Yep, it's an indie movie.
Is it the antonym for mainstream movie?
I guess it would be, yeah, you could say like a blockbuster or mainstream, big budget movie, all of these things. Or a movie that's produced by one of the major production companies, and then indie movies much smaller. Kind of opposite word, yeah.
Okay, indie movie. So it basically targets the niche audiences instead of mass movie watchers. Can I say movie watchers?
Sure, movie watchers, yes. Yeah. Traditionally, yes, it would have a smaller audience, but I guess they don't try to target small audiences, right? They want to be successful just like any movie. Indie really means that it's made by usually a smaller group of people on a small scale with a smaller budget, like that. And it has like a certain style to it.
It's weird because there is also a Korean word indie. So we use indie a lot, indie movie. But come to think of it, I didn't perfectly understand what that actually means. Now I got it. And use the sentence like movie that stars Scarlett Johansson. And I love the word star here, the verb. I was wondering if I could say Scarlett Johansson stars in the movie.
Exactly right.
Can I change the order of using this verb here?
Yeah, it's totally natural to do so.
Okay. One phrase that's kind of got stuck in my mind is wild story. Did you mention wild story or?
Maybe. It's not a wild ride. Maybe I said that.
Wild ride.
It's not a wild ride.
Oh, yeah. I didn't get the part. What was wild ride? Okay.
If you go to see the big blockbuster style movies that are very intense and it's almost like being on a roller coaster. They're so
Yes.
exciting. That would be the metaphor I was going for when I
Okay,
said it's
I
not a
got it.
wild ride. It's a very subtle movie.
What was the title of the movie, by the way?
Lost in translation.
Lost. I know this movie.
You know this movie?
I haven't watched it, but I've definitely heard of it. Lost
really
in
great.
translation. The last question was, what exactly does hit you like a ton of bricks mean? I've heard of this expression a lot, and I get a general picture of this expression, but if someone asks me what does it mean, then I probably couldn't answer it.
Sure. If we have a look. So it's informal expression. It means to have a huge emotional effect on you. Something with great force. It can be in a good way or it can be in a bad way.
Okay.
If you get, really sad news, you can say it hit me like a ton of bricks, which means I didn't deal with it very well. And it was really tough.
Do you think the phrase give realization could replace hit you like a ton of bricks?
I give realization. We don't really say to give realization. Not that I know of. Made me realize something potentially, like the sad news made me realize something. It gives the idea that it had a big effect on you, but it's not a direct usage.
Could you come up with another replacement to say hit you like a ton of bricks, just out of curiosity? Because I feel like I'm gonna use the expression quite a lot.
Hit me like a ton of bricks. Alternatives. It had a big emotional impact on me.
Or have a big emotional impact. Okay.
Yeah.
Have a big emotional impact on me.
I'm cheating here. I'm asking ChatGPT. It's giving me lots of.
No
good.
problem.
So this is good, very natural. It floored me.
For how does it spell?
Floored, like floor, Floored.
Floored me.
As if, imagine being hit so hard that you're knocked down to the floor.
Does it have also neutral meaning?
It could be, like, wow, I was floored by the beauty of the view from, the top of the mountain, or it could be sad news or something, sure.
Okay, I think it's enough.